Ada for telling three of my four siblings that they should be more understanding of our oldest sister and thanking her instead of treating her like shit for not celebrating our mother for Mother's Day. I, 22M, am the youngest of my siblings. My oldest sister, Casey, 31F, is my hero. She has done so much for me and the rest of our siblings, 23F, 25M, and 26F. And they never acknowledge it and only talk about Casey being a bitch to our mom or saying she should be pulling her weight more when it comes to mom. Background on our childhood is probably relevant here. Casey never really had a parent. Our parents were both shitty people, and our father was in and out of prison. Our mother was super hard on Casey and treated her like shit. Casey is also the kid who looks most like our father. Our mother was never kind or caring toward Casey, but she wanted her to be those things for us, so she pushed our mother to take care of us and would be there in the background, trying to make it happen. But Casey was often left doing a lot too. She walked us all to school when we were little. She didn't hang out with friends because she was babysitting or taking care of us. Casey's birthday was forgotten for years, and it was pretty much every year until I wrote it down, and they made sure I brought it up so she'd be celebrated. The rest of our birthdays were celebrated because Casey wrote it down for our mother. She knew it was pointless doing it for herself because our mother hated her. Casey got a part-time job when she was 14 and would help pay for stuff. She saved up to go to prom and spent all the money on us because our mother had none at the time. She didn't go to prom. Instead, she worked that night for more money. I always saw it. My siblings always saw our mother as their hero and would get mad at Casey for fighting with mother. They saw our mother as the greatest, and she treated us better generally than Casey. But the only reason she was involved with us was because of Casey. So for Mother's Day this year, my siblings all wanted to do this big celebration of our mother because she was diagnosed with chronic liver disease, and they fear she won't be around much longer. Casey wanted no part in it. My other siblings were pissed. I told them Casey owed our mother nothing, and they fought with me. It was a huge deal, and when Casey didn't show up on Mother's Day, it set them off. I wasn't there either, and I chose to go to Casey's and celebrate with her and my Bill and their kids. My other siblings were being so shitty to Casey in our group chat, so I told them they should be more understanding after all Casey had done for us. And I listed examples, and given the fact our mother treated her like shit, and I listed examples. I told them Casey was more deserving of our Mother's Day celebrations and not mother. They called me a bad son and a bad brother and said I was sick, just like Casey. Ada for not feeling sorry for my wife when exactly what I told her would happen happened. We have an old house. There is a 5-inch wide horizontal ledge on the stairway to the basement. She likes to store stuff there. I have been telling her for years it's a bad idea. Whenever I go downstairs to do laundry or put away groceries in our pantry, I make sure that ledge is empty. She always says that it's just handy and that she always means to clean it up. I find all kinds of crap there: bottles, jars, open boxes of garbage bags, lighter fluid, you name it. She came in from the backyard where she was gardening to use the bathroom. On her way out, she went downstairs for something. I heard her fall and then scream. After we got home from the hospital where they reattached her toe, I asked her why she thought that leaving her garden shears there was a good idea. She says that I'm being an asshole for saying, "I told you so." I didn't. I just asked her why she did it. I feel very bad that she got injured. I feel terrible that she feels dumb for leaving a heavy, sharp object where it could fall easily. I feel shitty that I didn't see them in time to put them somewhere safe. None of that means what happened wasn't entirely predictable and entirely her fault. Once again, for the cheap seat, I did not say I told you so. Am I the asshole for asking about her thought process? Ada for telling my husband's grandparents that they shouldn't have surprised their grandkids if they wanted their Mother's Day lunch to go better. Sunday, my husband, 25M, and his two siblings, 27EM and 22F, were planning to spend the day with their maternal side of the family, but their paternal grandparents asked if they could do something too. So we arranged a lunch for them to get together. It was an earlier lunch, so they could make it in time for the other things they had planned with the maternal side. The thing they were not expecting was their dad and his wife, who they are no contact with, to be there. Their grandparents surprised them with this after we all got there, and it was awkward as hell. It was also my third time meeting their dad. Their dad's wife kept watching them and trying to get their attention. They ignored her. Then she outright asked where her Happy Mother's Day wishes were, which they ignored. She asked about gifts and tried to claim the gifts all three brought for their grandmother. Bill told her nothing was for her, and why would she ever think they'd get her anything? GFIL tried to calm things down by talking over everyone, but it didn't work because their dad's wife just got louder. She started listing off all the gifts she'd received from them when they were kids and living with her and her husband, FIL. Syl told her they weren't ever actually from them and that their dad had bought them and added their names, but it was nothing to do with them. Their dad's wife then turned on Asil and blamed her, saying she manipulated the boys to feel the same as she did, and it was wrong because they were all young enough when their birth mother died for them to embrace and benefit from a new mother. My husband laughed at that and said Sil was the youngest and only 5 when their mom died, and their dad went out to replace her ASAP because he was pathetic and didn't want to raise his own kids. He said she clearly thought Esil was a very, very manipulative and intelligent 5-year-old to believe that, and pointed out she was very quick to always blame Sil for things. Bill added they were never going to accept some random person who came in months after their mom died and attempted to assert her dominance over them as a mother. He said he didn't care if their dad was unfair to her as well, because she was downright evil to try and replace their mom. It got so heated that I suggested to my husband that we just move on. Later that night, my husband's grandparents called me to apologize and said they had no idea how things went so wrong. This is where I might be TA, because I told them they shouldn't have surprised their grandkids by inviting FIL and his wife like that if they wanted the lunch to go better. I told his grandparents that they know my husband and his siblings are no contact and no love for their dad or his wife, and they know they used to fight all the time. His grandparents told me it shouldn't need to be a surprise, and I should understand their POV better. They also told me it's rude to rub it in after they apologized to me. Ada for reminding my SIOL she isn't a mother on Mother's Day. My brother Miles lost his wife Sarah 4 years ago. He has a son, Eric, 11. Miles married his wife Josie about 18 months ago. And yes, she's trying the whole second mom thing. Eric is in grief therapy, and Miles is being better about pushing Josie on Eric than he could be, but he also hasn't been as respectful of the fact that Eric doesn't see her as a mother as he could be. Sarah, unfortunately, didn't have sisters, so I'm the woman closest to her age in Eric's life, and I'm trying to be there for him as much as I can. We're very close. Not that I'll ever take Sarah's place, no one will. But he knows if there's ever something he doesn't want to talk to his dad about, that my home is always open to him. So for Mother's Day, Eric wanted to visit Sarah's grave, and then come to Mother's Day lunch with me and my family. Miles agreed to this plan initially, but the day before he canceled on Eric's behalf, saying that he and Josie thought it was best that Eric spend the whole day with them, since Eric should show appreciation to Josie on Mother's Day. I argued with Miles, and eventually Miles said I could come by and see Eric and get the gift he'd gotten me, but that he wanted Eric to stay with him and Josie. When I went over to the house, Eric gave me some flowers and a small candle, and we were talking outside, and he said he had had his phone taken away because he had refused to say or do anything for Josie for Mother's Day. Imagine punishing a child because he doesn't love you. I didn't say anything to Eric, but when I was leaving, I said to Miles that I thought he was doing untold damage to his son by bullying him into pretending he cares about Josie. Josie said it wasn't bullying for wanting Eric to participate in celebrating her on Mother's Day. So I looked at her and said, "Josie, whose mother are you?" Josie had a miscarriage a few months ago, so this hit her pretty hard. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't realize this would upset her, but frankly, she isn't Eric's mother, and she can't make up for wishing she was by making the day harder for him. Josie burst into tears and started shouting at me, and Miles told me to just take Eric with me because obviously this whole thing has been a failure. Miles is saying I went too far reminding Josie she isn't a mother, but I feel like someone had to because she was acting like she's entitled to the title when the child doesn't feel that way. If she was having a hard day and wanted to memorialize what she's been through, then that's her business. But Eric shouldn't be bullied into a pantomime because of her grief. I am 62, began long conversations and walks with coworker. As I was empty inside, living a loveless marriage, yet content with 5 kids, many Vran children. Every time we met and talked, she filled emotional and intellectual needs I did not know I had. Wife found this disturbing, all facts and open. I quit my job and stopped my foolishness. Yet I am being told I committed emotional adultery. It's been a year now. Any opinions? Ada for walking out of my mom's house on Mother's Day, even after she lost my sister. Not too long ago because she was disrespectful to my wife. Not the a-hole. My sister died 6 months ago. So yesterday was my mom's first Mother's Day after the loss of one of her kids. And the kid who made her a mom at that. I, 24M, wanted to make it special for Mom, and my wife was more than happy to help me. Even though Mother's Day is rough for her because she was not given a good or even a tries her best mother. So the day is a painful reminder that my wife didn't ever have a healthy maternal figure in her life. Father's Day is similar, but she never knew her father and never had a good father figure either. My wife still wanted to help make Mom's first Mother's Day without my sister special. We went around getting all my mom's favorite things, favorite flowers, ice cream, chocolate, a reservation for her favorite restaurant, a scarf in her favorite color because scarves are her favorite thing ever. We also compiled a little video of my sister. Mom talked about Mother's Day being more difficult without her and wanting to watch some home movies of her, so we did something special with that. My wife also helped me recreate a dance I did for my mom on Mother's Day when I was a kid, because she talked about that a lot. Basically, it was just meant to show how much we love her and help her through this not so easy Mother's Day. My wife played a very big role. She even suggested bringing breakfast to her and serving her breakfast in bed. Yesterday morning came, we made her favorite breakfast and bought it to Mom at her and Dad's. After she came out of her room is when things went to shit. Mom saw my wife and asked what she was doing there and didn't look like she wanted my wife there. It surprised me because my wife was with us last year too. Mom was grumbling and hostile to my wife. I told Mom that we'd planned some special things for her. This didn't change anything, and she told me she didn't want my wife there. Then she told my wife she had no right to intrude. And why would she want her there? My wife said she was sorry. She hadn't wanted to upset her. I told Mom that she was being rude and it wasn't right to take her sadness out on my wife. Mom said she just wanted us to spend Mother's Day as a family, and I told her my wife is family. My mother grumbled, and Dad asked me to lay off. My wife said it was fine, but then Mom started on my wife a few minutes later. And after she'd opened most of her gifts, and she said she was tired of her being here and her own mother hadn't even wanted her, so why did she think she'd be welcome? That was too much for me. I told Mom I should have left earlier, but I wanted to be understanding and supportive. But she had crossed the line and I was done. That she could celebrate Mother's Day without us. My wife and I left. She felt bad and I told her not to, and I apologized for not leaving sooner. She told me I didn't need to leave, and I told her I did. Mom and Dad both texted me countless times yesterday, saying I should go back, and how could I abandon Mom after she lost my sister? Ada for telling my sister-in-law that she's an idiot for expecting her family to be as generous with gifts for her marriage as they were for mine, not the a-hole. When I married my husband, we had a smallish wedding, 150 guests. Trust me, that's small for our families. We paid for everything ourselves. Altogether, we spent about $25,000. It was in our budget and we had saved up for it. And that included everything: my dress, the wedding party's dresses, and tux rentals. Catering, you name it. We paid and came in under budget. Our guests were family and close friends, the way it should be. And they were generous with gifts, both from our registry and cash in envelopes. When everything was said and done, our house was filled with great stuff we needed, and our savings were several $1,000s over where we started before we paid for the wedding. My husband's sister just eloped in February, and nobody found out about it until early April when she sent out links to her wedding registry. Not too many people have bought anything off of it yet, and she is getting upset about that. All she talks about whenever we speak is how cheap everyone is. Every conversation leads back to the same topic. After more than a month of this, I have had enough. I asked her if she understood why we got gifts when I married her brother, like at our physical wedding that took place at a church, and then a reception at a rented ballroom. She said I was treating her like an idiot and that she understood the difference between our weddings. I asked her why she would expect the exact same treatment for two very different events. I said that only an idiot would think that the outcome would be the same in both situations. She is mad at me. My husband said he was also frustrated with her stupidity, but that I should apologize for calling her an idiot.